And we are live. Welcome to Take Note Podcast. I'm your host, Ananda, along with my co-host, Keli Ananda. And we are with our special guest today, Joris. Joris, how do you pronounce your last name? Coulomb?
Coulomb, yeah.
Coulomb.
French,
Okay.
Coulomb.
Coulomb. Well,
Coulomb.
it's very nice. We were just speaking before. I've crossed paths with Joris in Mayapur. You had brought in your bike one time to Mayapur. And I think maybe we had pizza also, or like we're in the same pizza restaurant.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've crossed paths. So it's very nice to reconnect and actually have a nice conversation.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us today, Prabhu.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure, really. Also meet Keli. You guys have been following you guys for a while, so it's been nice to finally sit down. Or I'm standing, but exchanging.
Yeah. And take note, it's really our vision here with the Boudica platform. Take note, our vision really is to connect to that aesthetic experience of creativity in devotional service. How through the process of bhakti, this element of our creativity can be channeled in order to augment our experience of the spiritual reality that surrounds all of us. And so we're diving into that today. Our Namraz is here, Maharani's here. If you're listening and watching online, please write in. Let us know where you're coming from, where you're listening from, and give a shout out. Go ahead and share this podcast. Let it spread far and wide. Keli, do you have anything you want to pipe in about?
No, I'm super excited. I've been following Joris a little bit over the last few weeks. Selfie time.
So
I'm live, guys. On.
I'm excited to actually connect. There's this really strange thing that can happen these days, where you can speak to someone for, like, there's people in my life I've spoken to for months and months, and I've never actually spoken to them. I've sent them a voice note or a message on WhatsApp or whatever it is, but I've never actually connected with them. If this is real, I don't know, this is probably the best you can do on the internet. But it's nice to have a conversation in increments. So hopefully I can say a little bit and then you can say a little bit, instead of messaging you and waiting a while and then you messaging me back and then you waiting a while.
Yeah.
So it's good to connect like this. And
you can get the same amount of information transfer or just same amount of like work done in like 2 minutes on the phone with someone, or just by messages could take a few weeks, couple weeks, or a month even, like. But in person, it's like sometimes just call someone, or someone. I was designing like a design for Svasti in a collaboration with the BMX shop around here, and I was gonna send him all the designs, say what he thinks, what he wants to add to it or whatever. I was like, I'm just gonna go over there, and it took literally 5 minutes. I showed him the picture, tell me what it was like, and I was like back home just working on it already. It was like, wow.
I was just gonna say as well, because there's a lot that is lost in just messaging, so much communication happens with hands and faces and tone, and
so I like the emojis a lot. It's like the text and then the mood that
and Keli, as you were bringing that up, I was thinking that too, that there are like there's various levels of communication and interaction. And so many people have gotten used to this year of interacting just through message, right? We kind of, in an attempt to make things more convenient, it's very, sometimes we'll just text somebody, right? But then this point that you guys are both bringing up, that a lot of times if you just see someone in person, the information that needs to be transferred can just almost what's the word, like symbiosis, is that the word?
Yeah,
could be. It's a word.
It's a word.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like this subtle kind of transference.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is a step towards that, being able to see everyone's face. So thank you for being here with us, Joris.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
So Joris is, just for kind of a bit of a background, he is originally from France, in the south of France, and he's a professional BMX rider. He's been writing since he was 13, and he's now 31. So he's flipped the numbers.
Yeah. I just saw that when I wrote it down. I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah. He's traveled all over the world to write, and this is how he's really opened up to spiritual consciousness. He in his travels met so many different people, met so many different cultures, and really saw the universal underpinnings of all of these different areas and cultures and experiences. The more that he followed that guidance that he was getting and the kind of the clues that the universe was laying out for him, so to speak, the closer he got being called towards India. So he went to India, and he went without his bike that time, and that's when he found the Bhagavad Gita as it is. First day, huh?
First hour, really, just first hour being in India.
Crazy.
Wow.
It was in the hotel room on the bed table, like as it is. I just landed. It was a night. I was like just overwhelmed by the city already. It was in New Delhi, cows outside, people sleeping outside.
Oh yeah.
And we get to the room, just like see that book. Just look at the pictures, like wow. Look at the name of the chapters. Absolute knowledge, king of knowledge, like the universal form. Like I was like, oh wow. This is. I knew it was the trip was done. I was like, I came to grab that book. That was it.
That was quick.
Yeah, so quick. And
Even even the best thing you could have asked room service, like that Bhagavad Gita wouldn't even have crossed their mind, would it, I guess so.
I almost grabbed it, but I was like, that's the hotel property. I was like, I'll find it on my during the trip. But then because being in India was kind of overwhelming, so I almost forgot about finding the book. And we traveled. We went to Mumbai, Goa, and then went back to Mumbai, like really like all over India, pretty much. And then we're getting close to the end, and I remember we're walking down the street in Mumbai, and I was like, oh, I forgot about the book, like the Bhagavad Gita. I have to like try to find it before we leave. And the same day, you're just walking down the street, I see like a book stand in the street. They were just outdoors selling books. Like, you don't happen to have like the Bhagavad Gita by any chance? I was like, yeah, sure. What size? Big, small? Well, I'll get the small size, travel size, because I used to traveling a lot.
Yeah.
And again, it was Prabhupada's book, like not any random Bhagavad Gita that I didn't know at the time that the difference would be. And then, yeah, just got it and read it twice. Went back, read it twice. In a row, like really fast.
Yeah.
Just reading it because I was ready at that time when I found it. I was like, it was just saying what my heart was already, my I don't know, my vision of the world was, but with perfect words and wisdom.
Yeah, that your desire had aligned by all the the collective experiences that you had up to that point. You had such a strong desire, and that desire was so clear that Krishna just revealed himself immediately.
I felt like it just revealed himself. It was just like, okay, here I am. Like, you've been looking everywhere, and I really understood it. Is like person. I knew that the universe was responding. Everything I said, if there's no one in the room, I could just say a word. It's heard, and it's going to reply at some point in some shape, somehow. It was, I don't know, it was just a matter of time. And yeah.
That's something I really want to, want you to elaborate on, Joris, is just this question of culture. And, when I've been to India, we hear about culture shocks, right?
Yeah.
But there is something within different cultures that can resonate with you. I remember going to Rotterdam for the first time, and although it was a very different culture, there was something about the place that really resonated with me. And that's something about Krishna consciousness I find very interesting, because you have culture, and you have even like expectations of behavior, sadacha, and etiquette, and different customs, and very specific kind of lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
But being in such a unusual place such as India for you, you found something, and immediately it resonated with you in some kind of way,
Yeah.
And then the fact that you've brought that and you've managed to integrate it into your life, and now you perhaps, I'm not sure, but I doubt you actually live like an Indian person culturally,
No.
But there's something about the heritage and the teachings of that you've managed to integrate, the essence.
All the externals are different because it's a different place, time, and everything, but the essence is still the same. For sure. Yeah. But there was like, awesome. I want to go back also before finding the Gita and going to India. What how I got to India, I was always like signs and like I feel like from a pretty young age, now that I've read like all the books and stuff, that I understand like the realization, Brahman realization,
Yeah.
Paramatma realization, Bhagavan. They had Brahman realization very early
Mm.
and very impersonal. And I remember like even doing some things that were like now like harming a snail or just like because my brother had like attachment to a snail, and I remember like killing the snail because there's so much attachment to a snail. I was like, it's such a small creature that doesn't last. Like I could feel, I don't know, it was kind of bad to kill the snail. Now I wouldn't do it ever again. It's like when you have that impersonal, it's missing the compassion and like missing what you get in Bhagavan, the personal
Yeah.
aspect where oh no, it's a person, it's not impersonal. So
Yeah.
you, like Mayavadis can make mistakes by like that kind of thinking, but I was like really receptive to like science and, for example, the Alchemist book really helped me a lot. I don't know if you guys read The Alchemist. And I
Yeah.
remember I wasn't really into reading at all when I was younger. At school, anything that would give us like books to read, I was reading the minimum amount I could.
Mm.
And but that one time they gave us a list, and The Alchemist was there, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty interesting. And that was one of the one that I read, and it really like blew my mind. But I couldn't really remember the story like 10 years later or like when I grew up. And I knew I wanted to read it again, but I didn't like go straight to the store, buy it, and get it done. I was like, yeah, I know, I gotta read it again. I gotta read it again. And I was like on the trip, BMX trip, road trip, and my friend like which with who had like kind of like talks like that, like spiritual talks, were like growing on the same level pretty much. We would meet like different places in the world and like just gather information and like grow like that. And then I seen his back during that trip, The Alchemist. Like, wow, the book is like getting closer. It's here. Like my friend, like with who I like have this kind of conversation. He's reading it right now. So I tell him the story. Like I was just thinking about reading it again. I read it at school, but not much. I didn't grab it or he didn't give it to me. A few months passed, and then I go to my dad's visit, and my stepmom is like, "Oh, I just cleaned the bookshelf, and there was a couple of books I think you might be interested in." Boom, The Alchemist, and another book. I was like, it's been
Wow.
6 months. I've been just thinking about it. It's been like getting closer. And then I open it, start reading it, and it's all about the universal language, the sign, the universe, alchemy. The book is even about like listening to the universe, the signs, and that's how the book, I don't know, the book got close to me. And then, yeah, this book, and then Beer Now. It was kind of like escalating to
Yeah.
that point.
It's amazing. The kind of universal experience that I notice across any seekers, really. There's always this entrance, and I think the Alchemist really kind of talks about that, like this entrance into the next door, the next door, the next door,
Yeah.
like deeper and deeper into what it is our heart's desire. And as our desire changes, how those things just show up for us
Yeah.
in a big way. I'm curious. I want to kind of take it back because we kind of dived right in, which is
Yeah.
awesome. But I want to take it back to a little bit of your background, because one thing that you're well known for is the Swasti brand, which
Yeah.
is you're wearing a shirt right now, which
Yeah.
is taking kind of modern pop culture, and transcendentalizing it.
Yeah.
But another thing that you're quite famous for is you're a professional BMX rider. So I wanted to kind of hear just a little bit about that.
Yeah.
How did you originally kind of get into professional BMX riding, and what has that been for you in your life?
Well, it's pretty much been the best thing could ever ask for. But it started from just I was very active when I was younger, like
Huh.
just running around. And my mom said like, you have to do a sport, like do something, like channel this energy. So I tried. Like at first it was basketball. I played basketball from like 6 to like 12 years old, like really, really, really passionately.
Yeah.
But then we moved, and then the club was like not as good, so like switched like different sports. I tried something else, but every time it was just like I loved the sport, playing the game, the rules, everything. But the training program, the teacher, just everything about like too many rules. It was just like too. It would get the fun out of like play tennis. Tennis was so strict. I loved to play, hit the ball, like play game, like. But the teacher was just like, it made the thing like not fun. And for example, if you didn't want to play tennis or basketball the Wednesday, the course was on that day anyways. Either you miss it or. So I was like, yeah, this is frustrating. And then I found skateboarding, and I was just free to go whenever I want. Do do it how I wanted to, and then find my own master, find the skaters that I really appreciate, and copy their style. Get information. I was free to just grow, more like spirituality, you know, you have like inspiration, and it's more free.
Yeah.
But then it switched from skating to riding bikes, because one time I was just by myself, pretty much all the time skating. It's kind of hard to get in the scene. I mean, I was probably younger too, but I saw these guys. They came where I was riding with bikes, jumping all over the place, but they were more as a group. That really attracted me. They were just like jumping all over, but kind of like as a dance together, instead of like as a skater. I was more feeling like separated, or because there's more skaters, a little more impersonal, and then the riders had like a tighter group, and I really attracted me. And I instantly switched, got a bike for next Christmas, and I was 13, and yeah, I was just so passionate. I just did it so much that already at 16, I started to get a sponsor for bike parts and stuff like that. And then by 17, I started riding for Nike. So that was like a pretty big thing. The guys came from Paris, so like signing contract and everything. They wanted me on the pro team. Yeah, and I was on Nike for like 11 years. So.
Riding for Nike. So for people, because I've always wondered this about, I raced BMX for a little bit. It wasn't trick BMX. It was just like racing. And so, I always had this concept of like being sponsored, or like in extreme sports. What does that mean? They just send you things, or they actually just kind of fund you so that you can live and kind of keep doing the sport that you love?
Yeah, that's pretty much what there's different level, like amateur, you pretty much just get parts or a travel budget or stuff like that. And then, but like actual pro, you get a salary, or just there's a budget for parts. For my bike, I get like, it feels like it's unlimited. I don't go through my parts on my bike. I get parts as much as I want.
Yeah.
They pay me for, but Nike was definitely like the most paid sponsor. They just stopped the entire BMX program at some point. They changed the CEO, and he was like, "We're just gonna focus on skateboard," and they canceled the entire program. So everyone got. They had like the best team in the world, like best riders in the world, but they didn't care. But yeah, there were shoes like falling from the sky or anything. Just give to my family, and I still have like up to the like a stack like in France. My mom's like so much shoes. And they would pay like. They would do like at the beginning, especially like so many events all over Europe and the world, and I would get invited because I was happy. So every event that they would do, I was invited. So I could like meet, because like in specialty we say association is the key. It's the same. I realize it's the same everywhere. That's what helped me in BMX to grow so far and actually become good at it, because I associated from a very young age to the big guys, the professional riders, the main, like my heroes in riding became my friends very quick. Yeah. And I was riding with them, hanging out with them, going on trip with them, and that's how it's like elevation. It's like if you go to the temple, you go to Vrindavan, you meet with the swamis. There's no way you're not gonna elevate and stuff like that. So same process.
I love the point of how you kind of ditched skateboarding for BMX, because one aspect was it was more inclusive.
It's a little tighter. Yeah, the community, even though it's a very nice community in skateboarding. They're like brothers and stuff, but I feel it's just the numbers. There's so much skaters because it's way easier to skate. A bike is more expensive. You need a specific bike, they break, or you have fixed tires. You can get a skateboard at the supermarket for like $30 and then become a skater, start from there. So in numbers, there's more money in skateboarding, there's more people, and there's a little more impersonalism also. You become like kind of like a little lost. In biking, it's kind of like that, little same spirit, but a little tighter. That's it.
I was just thinking that like how people often try and find an excuse to have relationships. Like I went to the city closest to me, like an hour away from where I live, last weekend, and the shops are just starting to open up a little bit because of COVID in the UK. And there was like a coffee and tea shop, and I went in, and they were serving coffee and tea, but all of the tables and chairs were strapped to the walls, and so I was asking the guy what's business like, and he was saying it's slow, and he's finding it difficult. But we started talking about how a lot of people, they go there because coffee or tea is just an excuse to chat. It's not, they're not going because they love chamomile or because they love a latte necessarily.
They probably have it at home already. So.
Exactly, they have the tea at home, but it's the experience. And I was just reflecting on that. So many of our passions and where we invest our time, it's like, obviously we love doing certain activities, but the underlying principle is we're just looking for an excuse to have relationships,
Yeah. Most
So
definitely.
yeah.
And this point of how we associate, what those who those relationships are with, how much that propels us on a trajectory in life. And like you're saying, you had this opportunity to start, being around and spending time with these heroes, these people that were already established in the world of professional biking, and how that catapulted your own experience and career.
Yeah.
And
Because
how
then it was always a dream, because I started to see like people make a living out of it. They just leave like their sponsors and they go on trips all the time. And so I knew it was a thing, but I was still going to school. My mom was always like being smart and saying, you never know, or how long you're going to be able to do it. So I was like, yeah, I mean, it was common sense. I was like, yeah, definitely. And I wasn't struggling at school, so it was kind of like easy to do both. So I got my high school degree, and then I went to high school even like for 3 years. So it was always like I could balance both, but at some point I knew that it was already like so developed. I dropped. I mean, I didn't graduate my high school, and they wanted me to come back for another semester. And at some point, I was like, all right, I just dedicated so much time. And it was like business school, and I wasn't even convinced by the diploma anyway. It was like, I might not even want to work in that industry, so I don't want the diploma, so I didn't go back. And I focused, and that's when I actually started like fully bossing, because I did that gap of like letting go of like I don't know, and then actually I know I can do it. And
and because of those relations that you had with people that were already doing it, you knew it was possible. And I think that's such a key aspect of even spiritual life, is that we have to be around people and that show us that it's possible, or what's possible. Right.
They already
Reveal to us what's
symptoms.
possible.
They're already doing it.
Awesome.
I'm interested in the culture as well around that. Like we were talking about culture, I feel like biking and skating and those kind of sports have a very specific vibe to them, And I didn't know, Ananda, you used to be a pro BMXer.
I wasn't pro. I was a 12-year-old kid, and I
I mean, I used to try and skate, and I was terrible at it, but like I was there for the hang, I really wanted to feel like those guys. I wanted to feel cool, And just hearing about your trip to India and how you came to Bhakti a little bit, which I'd like to hear more about as well. But maybe before you go into that, could you explain a little bit more about the actual kind of like the scene and the culture with riding and the kind of style and
Well, I just watched Skate Monk podcast that you had the other day, and he was talking about that a little bit. So that's definitely you covered that, but also learning from Bhakti, all the Prabhupada books, the Bhagavatam, like I got to understand actually where it all came from, like type of energy and like all that stuff. But it's definitely a lot more parties and like intoxication. But also I came to realize that it was like linked with the like Skateman was saying, like there's a lot of pain involved when you do tricks, and almost like it goes along. Without indulgence in these intoxicants, you wouldn't be able to like go through that. It goes. It's like you hear from Vedic culture, the Kshatriyas were able to drink some alcohol after war time, or even eat meat. I watched some old like Hindu movies, like Bollywood movies, and because they have the tradition and everything. Some families that were Kshatriyas, they would eat meat offered to Kali. But because it's part of the Kshatriya, because eating meat is eating violence. So if you want to go to the battlefield and kill other people, you need some kind of violence. You wouldn't bring like a saint on the battlefield. It's not going to defend anyone. But so everything has a purpose, and I realized because I indulged in those intoxicants for a while, and then to a point where I go like, whoa, that's become like just a habit, or it becomes like just a routine kind of. So I kind of like step back at some point. But I felt that it goes along, like smoking, like the marijuana helps relieve the pain, relieves the fear of like the doubts you can have in your mind. Sometimes like during the same day, I would like hurt in the morning, kind of like stop writing, like I'm done for the day, but we're on the road trip filming, so we keep going from spot to spot, and we have like to film. And my friend would like roll a joint, I would smoke, chill, and then an hour later, pain is gone, my mind is totally back to normal, and I would just write again. And like, whoa, I just said I was gonna stop writing today, but now I feel fine. So and then go through the trip like that. So it's almost like medicine that you have to use. So there's a reason most writers, most skaters, they don't think about it, but like that's just indulge, and
Yeah.
sometimes
Mhm.
maybe too much, but it goes somehow hand in hand. It's like a darker mode of existence for sure, but that's the lifestyle kind of.
Yeah. It's the kind of, you're speaking to just the physical aspect of extreme sports. It's just like there's so much physical demand on the body, so then that lends itself to a lot of, drug use and
Really, the
different things like that.
mind even more. The more I do it, the more I realize that it's all in the mind. Like
Mm.
my what I do most right now is riding on rails. My one of my favorite thing to do is to double tire, we call it, with my bike. I just ride double with my two tires on the rail. So it's pretty much like it looks impossible from the outside. How can someone just two wheels or even one wheel can just manual on the rail?
My
It's
heart
like
like skips
yeah,
every time I watch you like jump up to do it. I'm like, huh.
yeah, like even next to a building or next to a real gap, it's more like really more mental. Sometimes my heart like race, like it's really like a intense. It's almost like a cigarette after it's like needed. Like sometimes like comes down back to earth. Like, it's like really you get like some trance feeling sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's kind of weird. Like, and I guess there's different levels, and the higher you go in writing, more you see like these type of intoxication. Kind of if you're more chill, you're able to like stay away because you're not really pushing it. But I see a lot of providers, they kind of not like everyone smokes, but like or drink, but it's almost like hand in hand. Like,
Yeah.
but there's also an aspect of a victory. I was going to this contest in Estonia every year, and it's like
Mhm.
known for big parties, one of the biggest contests in the world, and I've always been invited and going. Nike was paying for everything. But that one year I couldn't ride because I hurt my ankle pretty bad. I couldn't barely walk just a week before the contest, so it was already booked. So I decided to go anyways. But I couldn't ride. So when came night and everyone was just partying, I didn't ride the contest, and I didn't feel like at all like drinking or partying with everyone because I didn't like push to work during the day. Just there was no, so I
Mm.
just sat down all day, and then when they were partying after riding, sweating all day, and it was like, but I didn't feel it. It was like it came after work. It's not just drinking for drink. Most people just drink for drinking, but in our tradition, it's kind of like after hard work. They
Mhm.
open a beer after a session where they sweat and they fell on the ground, and then it's like it's like a whole cycle of like going high from adrenaline or whatever that is, and then coming back. It's like a whole thing, but it creates, I don't know.
I
Yeah.
was I wanted to maybe like draw a parallel with um with the kind of lifestyle you're talking about, and then a more like strict active lifestyle.
Yeah,
Because one thing that I realized, um, as I was getting into Bhakti, was that there was a demand, there was an expectation to be renounced, to be sober, you know,
yeah,
and a lot of the expectations for the benefit of spiritual life can seem quite strict to the outsider,
yeah,
like
Mhm.
waking up super early, no intoxication, no meat eating, no sex, no
yeah,
gambling, even, and if you're a monk, then it's like quite a solitary life as well. You just hang out with a certain type of people, and
yeah,
so that was kind of like an obstacle I had to get over to begin with when I moved
yeah,
into the ashram, because I was thinking I don't want to give up all these things. But the thing that really allured me and helped me to progress on the path was like finding a taste, finding an adrenaline rush, finding something higher within the culture. Like, it must be so hard to BMX, but then when you get when you land a trick successfully, or when
yeah,
you experience bliss with like going traveling with your friends or your mates or whatever, it's all worth it. And
Mhm.
that's kind of how I felt going to these spiritual festivals and connecting with people. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
this lifestyle is hard. Like, I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning and took a cold shower, and I'm
yeah,
totally spaced out. But I'm at this incredible festival with all these people, and
yeah.
it's like it
Every
makes it worth
pleasure
it.
really takes pain first. Like we need to like work in order to attain any. That's at least on a material level. When I got like struggle to get like one fruit of the
Aha.
of the tree.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's interesting what you're saying. Yeah, I
So
was gonna.
can
Go
I
ahead.
can I ask a question then? Because you were describing how you went to India, you found the Bhagavad Gita, and so I'm just interested how you've managed to integrate your BMX culture with spiritual life, or how you've managed to integrate spiritual life with the BMX culture, and also like I guess your lifestyle is quite unique in one sense.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, on a day-to-day basis, on a day in the life of Joris, what does that look like? And are there people, you're talking about swamis in India and stuff, do you get instruction from people where you live, or how do you kind of stay spiritually nourished and manage to also keep BMXing and that really intense lifestyle?
Yeah. Well, first, from like how I integrated it, like I was saying, like I got introduced to Krishna consciousness from the Gita itself, from finding the Gita from like actual search. So I didn't meet the devotees. So it took me probably 2 years before I met actual devotees. I think it was in New York, Union Square when I was there. So it took me a while to meet the devotees. So I never had, from the version that I had from the book itself, what Krishna was saying, what Prabhupada was saying, it was 100% spiritual. Literally, it means you can do, Krishna says, you do whatever you want, you offer the result to me. You don't look if it's bad, you don't look if it's good. You offer the result to me, I'll take care. Meaning, you could be selling drugs, you make $10,000 a month, you give $5,000 to the temple, in a year, you won't be a drug dealer anymore. Krishna will arrange for you not to be a drug dealer anymore. That's how people wait to purify themselves in order to like worship,
to do something spiritual.
Yeah, no, that's actually the cure. Like bhakti is the process and the goal.
I just wanted to say, because I actually have a friend who had the similar thing. He was really into drinking and he got into Krishna consciousness, and in the first week he went to the pub and he was at the bar with his beer, and he thought, I should really offer this to Krishna, so he like holds it up. Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu.
But that's what I was doing. I was so like naive and like so like purely like just like taking it like as it is, really. That at that beginning when I was reading the Gita, still traveling, I would just still live the same lifestyle. But sometimes I would like be with friends on a trip, like, and drinking at a bar, and go to the bathroom and start chanting the Maha Mantra in the bathroom while I was speaking. Like Hare Krishna, so happy. So it was like coming together perfectly. I was just finally being free. Like, oh my God, there's like the whole thing makes sense now. It's like. And I didn't try. I could feel that these things were like to avoid from the lecture still, but I never made an effort to push them away because it was kind of like my lifestyle. It was kind of like I would be like sometimes like smoking a joint and reading the Gita, just like, and he would like be in it, just like reading, and but the Gita and the chanting that was coming along pushed everything away. In about 2 years. I stopped drinking. I stopped eating meat first. No, it was 2 years to like fully stop eating any kind of meat. First, I stopped buying meat for myself. Then a little bit of fish, then eggs. But everything was pushed away without me thinking about it. It was just like, nah, I don't need anymore. I don't need anymore.
Yeah.
Just from reading and focus, I was focusing on the light, not removing the darkness.
Yeah. You're just adding the positive.
Exactly. And I felt it was like, oh my God, it's all going away now. When I wanted to like stop smoking, it wasn't even hard. It was taking too much time it was rolling, sitting, smoking. It was just too much. I wanted to chant, wanted to read, I wanted to like do all this stuff. It was just taking more time on something that was more pleasurable now. So now I'm back to like another, like from association, moving over here, like some stressful situation. And I kind of like also like try not to force it. Went back to like in between, but it's a different total relationship. And it's the effect and association.
I love this point of just adding the positive. And recently on another Bodhika podcast, the Arise podcast from the Honest Man's podcast, they had this whole discussion about really adding, and it really stuck with me, but you add what really makes you happy in spiritual life, those things that are uplifting in our spiritual practice. You add those, you do those things. And by that, it brings out.
Then you don't have time for bad. There's no time for bad stuff.
Yeah, and it brings out this organic desire to commit deeper. To the principles and to the lifestyle that's already giving us so much satisfaction and fulfillment.
Yeah, Because focusing on the bad is not even motivating. It's like it looks bad, so sometimes you don't even think you can do it. You look at your bad side, but if you just like take like I like the analogy that Prabhupada was always saying, like that when the sun rises, it dissipates darkness before it's even above the horizon. Before you
Yeah.
even see the sun, the darkness is already going away. Like Maya is the darkness, and God is the sun. Maya goes away as soon as Krishna comes. Like even she cannot be in the same room.
Yeah.
So the more we like Krishna, there's no question of it went away instantly.
Yeah. And I think that takes us, because two things I wanted to kind of touch on. I want to get to this, the creation of Swasti, this brand that you've created, that you've kind of really pioneered, and you're you know, doing just that in a practical way. Like we titled this discussion Divine Appropriation, but I remember you mentioned when you found the Gita, it was the artwork that really that really stuck in your mind, and it really caught your attention. And before, you were also showing me some of those stickers and pictures that you had printed out. And and could you tell us a little bit about your experience kind of with the artwork of the Gita, and what you would do with those pictures?
The plates are really there's like a plate for every ID pretty much of the Gita. So it was really like it felt like I've seen them before when I was seeing them. And I started like printing these paper I had in here, paper cards, just for myself, just to remember, and I put them in this plastic thing so to preserve them. And I was giving them away, kind of like friends when I would meet them. But that's when I started printing stickers. I thought everyone loves stickers.
Yeah.
Round stickers, especially in BMX and stuff. It's like you put on the bike, but then I realized everyone loves stickers. I think I have one here. You see, they're so nice. This one I just peeled off the wall. Baranga, but it still sticks really good for it's waterproof. But I was making them for myself, like always like 27. So I would do like 4 types by 27, so it'd be like 108 stickers, something like that.
Wow.
And it would have them with me, and like everywhere I would go, like if I start a conversation and he would start to like go into like spiritual subject, I was like, yeah, well, here's a sticker, kind of like a token or seed, like. And some days even someone wanted to buy the sticker off me. It was like, no, but that devotee in Mayapur. Like, no, but you should sell them. Like, I don't care. It was like, it gave me money, and it was like rupees. It was nothing, but it was just for the gesture.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I guess I should probably like start something. And then I actually made new stickers, and I created the design with the flower of life and the Maha mantra around it. It was like, that kind of looked like a original design, so it could be a brand stickers. So that's why the name Swastickers. It was like stickers, Swastickers.
Swastickers.
I didn't know. Wow. Genius.
And then I was like, well, stickers is very limiting. I might do shirts or other stuff someday, so I just cut it to Swasti. And it just flowed like organically, and it was meant to happen. Like I was gonna say earlier, like one of my like how I integrated like Krishna consciousness into my life, like writing, and one of my thing I always remember, and I feel like that's how I kind of like leave, is like with the path of the least resistance. I don't know if you heard that, the path of least resistance, like water. As humans, because we can decide, the mind is yes, no, can decide. We can stop on an obstacle and decide not to go around.
Yeah.
Water doesn't think like that. It's obstacle around, and didn't even think about the obstacle. Never stopped actually. And so if there's resistance somewhere, I just go around. I just keep the goal in mind and just go around, and that's how I like flowed so easily.
Yeah.
People stop.
And so is that kind of because it's even like this shirt, like, this shirt that you're wearing, it's, the explicit content design. Yeah. Right. But, and so immediately kind of people have a recognition of that. This is a part of our popular culture. And then it's, so automatically they're already attracted. They may assume what it says, but if they look, please chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Yeah. And there are so many things like this that you've created.
And then the more, it wasn't like I didn't think I was gonna do like that. It just happened. Like I did 1, and then 2, 3, and then I was like, well, the ideas keep coming. And always when I start digging, it's always I make 1 connection usually or 2. But then as I make it on computer, my phone, it's like, wow, there's so many like levels of like connection of everything. Like when I did like the Rolls Royce, Radhe RR, like Prabhupada was using a Rolls Royce. He was actually talking about that. Like, wow, there was like always so many levels, and it's just meant. It was like because we're talking about divine appropriation. What I wanted to say mainly is that it's reappropriation. We've already been stealing everything from God's creation. Like there's so many things I have in my mind. Like yesterday, I posted like Brahma flying on a swan, and I was watching the Joe Rogan and Raghunath podcast, and at some point, Joe Rogan is like, I kind of have a hard time believing in Hindu mythology because you see gods flying on swans and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that's fair enough. And the other day, I was by the in Long Beach here by the water, and people just paddling around on swans. Like, I was like, why do we do it then?
Yeah.
It must be fun. So there must be someone that has an actual swan, and
Yeah.
do it too. So it's not that hard to believe. Like you see, miniature of everything. We've been stealing. You know?
I've been thinking about. I've thought in the past of like, you know, devotees are known, Vaishnavas are known. They worship Shalagram Shila. They worship Govardhan. You know, and then in the 80s we had these corny things called pet rocks. Right?
Yeah.
It's just the.
Yeah.
It's just where'd the idea of pet rocks come from? From the pure idea of worshiping the Shalagram Shila.
Yeah. Everything, the swing. Everyone loves the swing. Radha and Krishna, we push them on the swing. You know, like the bulls. You know, in Spain they do like the corridor or the corrida.
Yeah.
You know, the guy with the red flag and has a bull, and you see the pastimes where Krishna is killing the
Fighting the
demon,
bulls.
fighting the
Yeah.
bulls. There's so many like just fighting in general. Krishna when he fought with Kamsa and Balaram, they were showing all the martial arts. They were experts, like people like UFC fighting. When you see those pictures of Krishna fighting with his brother, it looks like UFC now. It's like it's just a mirroring. Which all these Krishna actually did everything, and we're just imitating, taking pleasure in what he takes pleasure doing. We're just like microcosmism.
One point I really like. I was speaking to my parents today about propaganda, right? Like the only way any authority comes into being is through propaganda, right? Whether they're benevolent or evil. And I was just I was remembering there's an American skate brand, Supreme.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what devotee it was. Maybe it was Brindavan Kirtan Prabhu.
Yeah.
And so he was wearing this shirt. It said Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, like, this was a few years ago. So I was living in the ashram then, and I was really trying to get into like Vedic culture, you know. I was listening to lectures about Vedic culture, and I was really interested in that kind of thing. But when I saw this guy wear this T-shirt, I thought, wow, that's so cool, you know.
Yeah.
It was immediately like I resonated with it immediately.
Yeah. That was actually one of my first idea, but I also met Vrindavan Kirtan, and I saw the shirt, and like it's been done already, but I was actually before Swasti even.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But I just think
and
that
if you write Krishna, with I was gonna write the Supreme logo, just write Krishna with the italic font, the exact font and everything, the same amount of letters. Supreme and Krishna, 7 letters. And like so many when I did the Hollywood sign, and I did Hare Krishna, same amount of letters. Hollywood I didn't have to like add anything, you know, like change every time. It's like same amount of letters, or I just have to like I play with the Krishna spelling like 7 letters or 5 letters, you know, it could, to match, but it just fits every time. Like,
so I think this is genius because such a big part of Krishna consciousness is sharing Krishna consciousness, you know. And we hear time and time again, if you want Krishna consciousness for yourself, you have to share it, which involves propaganda, you know. And what you're doing is so cool, it's so effective. And I think, you know, there's devotees like yourself that have probably been empowered in ways to reach people that wouldn't otherwise have been reached, you know.
Definitely felt it, because when I found Krishna consciousness, it gave purpose to whatever my Brahmins career. It was right at the peak because I was like learning about spirituality, so the Brahmins world was losing importance. The more you learn about spirituality, everything in material lose a value or anything. But then when actually the Krishna consciousness is like settled, I was like, oh, let me use all of that. Let me use all that I have to actually offer something or use like I like when I started up, I didn't have that amount of followers. I actually gained half of it like the recent years, and so like I can actually use these people that are watching what I'm doing to do that, and that's why I went to India instantly. So I had to go back over that. I found the Gita the first time. I read it like twice in a row by myself. And then by the second time, I was like, well, I need to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I ordered it online, got the whole set, and it took me 2 years to finish it.
Wow.
In a row, just by myself at home, like reading as much as I never used to read. It was just like just eating it.
Yeah.
And by the time I was like getting close to the end, Nike reaches out, and they're like, well, yeah, we want to do a trip with you, and you can go wherever you want. You just do a trip, we pay for everything. I was like, what? So I was like, we need to go to India because I was like, meet Bhagavatam. I was like, you need to go to India and do kind of like a documentary or like something cool out of it. And so we planned the trip and everything. And crazy enough, I just finished the Krishna book just before going back.
Wow.
To India, and that time we ended up going to Vrindavan because now I knew there was a place called Vrindavan where you could find Krishna directly. But
yeah,
so we went back like that. But by that time I was like I knew the whole thing. And the video, because I feel like I had an idea of the video, like what I wanted to show, like some tricks, but also like all the culture, like some of the temples. But I was like, it's India, riding in India. I've seen people going to India riding. There's not so many spots, so many people coming looking at you. It's like pretty good struggle. So I was like, we don't know. Everything went perfect. I didn't get hurt once. We got help. We got everything we needed. Like it was magic. I was like, Krishna really helped it.
What is that video called that
Balance.
you recorded? It's called Balance. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put
and
it
he got like
in
nominated for the Bicycle Film Festival in New York like the year after or something. Like it was pretty cool. It was played at the festival.
So I'm interested at this point to ask about this word appropriation is usually found in like controversial conversations,
What is
the word appropriation? Like, so you said
yeah.
actually it's like reappropriation because everything comes from Krishna anyway. We're just kind of dovetailing it or rebranding it. Have you, when you were in India or when you brought back influences from India back to the West, did you ever find opposition from people who were like, oh, you can't use Krishna's name in this kind of way? Or I don't know, have you ever come across kind of controversy or opposition, and like how have you navigated that?
Yeah, a little bit in the beginning because like I have my sponsors, bicycle BMX sponsors. They make me like parts. I have like signature parts that I can design, so I can ride with the parts that are good for me, like the geometry of the bars, the frame. So, but we can design also the artwork and the name and everything. So like I spiritualized everything, and at some point the guys at the company already knew it, and then we were designing a new seat, but the designer, which I'm like giving my ideas and we like work together to get like something done. He already drew something for me, thinking ahead, like, oh, I know, just let me know what you think. We can just do restart. It was just like suggesting. He sent me the drawing of a seat, this brown, black in the back, like this tag, and then the drawings were just like Vishnu on the Garuda, Shiva's head, like baby Krishna, the home symbol, Trishul, kind of like a shao. She was all like, wow.
Oh my god.
I was like, it's okay, perfect. But it was like in the beginning, so I didn't think twice. I was like, perfect. I mean, if you guys want to put Krishna on the seat and like sell it to people and like promote like the home symbol, everything, I wasn't gonna ask them for that much, but they already draw it, so I was like, let's do it. And then that's when people started to see you cannot put these symbols on the seat because you sit on it, And at that point I understood, like, oh wow, yeah, that's and then I felt by myself even sitting here or seeing people posting pictures like on like beat but at that point in Kali Yuga like that, I think it inspired, and that's still to this day the seed that worked the best. People still, it was like one of the first, probably like 5 years ago, maybe even more. People still ask for it, like, where can I find one? When I see a picture, like, it worked really good.
Wow. I really like this point too, that kind of backtracking, but we kind of rounded back to it, that really being able to see Krishna everywhere. You were making this point about, you know, when you did that, there's a design that you've done where you take the Hollywood skyline, the Hollywood sign up on the hill, and you change it to Hare Krishna. It's the
Yeah.
same amount of letters,
Yeah.
right? You did the Rolls Royce logo, and you did Radhe Radhe, right? And Prabhupada used to drive around in a Rolls Royce. The devotees would get him a Rolls Royce. So you were just seeing all these connections, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about how, and it goes along with this idea of adding the positive, but how Krishna is Krishna is within every atom and all the space in between.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just a little bit more about your experience of and maybe any stories of the designs that you've made that have had these connections.
Yeah, well, some of these are like mostly ideas that I started to have like a while ago, just from just started Krishna consciousness, like, oh, do putting things together, and now it finally comes back, or there's even more. I would have to like pull some out to actually remember, but to have a specific example, one that really worked well, I really realized, is the Vrindavan, the Nirvana shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you take the Nirvana word, it's the exact same letters as Vrindavan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if you just rearrange them.
And there's a show that's called Anavrin on Netflix, because it's backward of Nirvana. And when I posted it, I said Anna Vrindavan Nirvana. The three words can connect.
Wow,
It's crazy. And that phase, kind of like I did the tilak, so it's kind of like the mood of like being in Vrindavan, kind of like in bliss.
that's incredible.
Vrindavan, higher than Nirvana. At first, I called the shirt higher than Nirvana. It said Hare Krishna, and then I was like, oh my god, Vrindavan Nirvana, and I modified, switched the design.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like almost like I just channel like it's like Krishna wants it to happen. It's like it was already there. The word Vrindavan and Nirvana were already. I didn't do anything. It's like yesterday. I was like, someone said about BMX. Like, so my friend posted like, oh, here's a trick that all the kids do these days, but it's been invented like 20 years ago. And then I replied, I commented just as a kind of like a joke. Do we really invent tricks, or do they already self-exist? Because the possibility is already there. If I actually do it, I didn't create it. The possibility was already there. I just followed it was a possibility. So it's like it was already. I don't know, we don't really create anything.
I wanted to ask, because I saw you share a little video recently. There was this kind of free book stand out in the open somewhere, and you came across it, and you put one of Prabhupada's books there.
Yeah.
Which I thought that's a really cool thing. But I was also thinking, in your life now, because you said, you went through this huge book, the Bhagavatam. It's like over 30 books in one. You went through that in like 2 years, and you've read so many books since then. So I'm just wondering, at the moment, what part does like philosophy and study and that kind of aspect of spiritual life play in your day to day? Because there are some people who would kind of say we should dedicate all of our time to reading or chanting or whatever it is, and
like I said, like I it's like I said, the path of least resistance, but just the phrase is what I just do it spontaneously. And like I never read before. When it came, I read all of it twice. I actually read the Bhagavatam twice also. I started a second time entirely, and now I like started the third time, kind of like to maintain, but I was starting to force it. Just I wanted to maintain, and I didn't get a taste to read it anymore, because I understood it so much that I didn't need to like spend time reading. I had to like spend time acting about it, like being like putting in practice bhakti yoga and like fulfill this life. And then I ended up doing. Now I do so much with Swasti that I actually chant a little bit less and I read a little bit less, but I don't feel less satisfied, because when I'm like thinking about Krishna 24 hours, sometimes I wake up, I bring a design I was working on, I work, I go to bed, I'm still working the same thing, and I wrote during the day, kind of like it's transferred, but the meditation and the connection is still there in a way.
Mm.
It's like, I think Chaitanya was saying that he was a big scholar, but when he, at some point, he kind of like, it was like he dropped all the books, and he like, not comparing, but like there's like a level of a, at some point you just like, it's when it's in your heart, you can just like dance and
It's an interesting
it.
point about like obligation and how I think you know we've said this before as well, but when there's kind of obligation in relationship or in lifestyle, it's very easy to lose taste, you know.
Yeah. And I
If you feel
think
obliged to be in a relationship or you feel obliged to do spiritual life, it's easy to leave to lose taste, you know.
I think it was from Prabhupada, but he was I was watching following Srila Prabhupada to get so much inspiration from these videos. But I think he was saying there's no question of force when there's love.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, it's like, I want to run towards Krishna. Why would you push me? Like, there's no, when you love something, you're gonna do it anyways. There's no question of force. As soon as you have to force it, it means you're lacking a little bit of love. But in Bhakti we learned that though it's good to force in order to develop love a little bit, but it's good balance to have still. But you shouldn't force it too much.
Yeah. This point of sometimes if I cultivate the mindset around service as an obligation, right, then it kind of loses its
You could
capacity to
actually
be
develop a
service.
bitter taste about it
Yeah.
without
So
knowing over the years.
being
Still do it,
attentive.
but you're bitter about it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened
Oh,
with
sorry.
other religion and Christianity, and people rejected it because it became just the rules for the rules, and they even practitioners didn't really know the reason behind most of the stuff they were doing, and then the younger generation didn't want to, the hypocrisy didn't match.
Yeah. So being attentive to how do I view my practice? How am I approaching the texts, the chanting, my daily activities? Not that I create it to be some burden. And I appreciate this mood that you're sharing, that allowing it, if I love something, right, moving that love is going to automatically pull me towards
Yeah.
Krishna, towards my goal, what I'm actually attracted to.
Yeah. 100%, 108%.
Yeah.
So what does the future of like Swasti and your vision hold? Because I've only found out about Swasti quite recently, but it seems to be something that's growing and snowballing into something pretty cool. I know a lot of devotees that are very inspired by your style. And I was just thinking the other day, like, you're a cool guy, and sometimes you post things online that are, I'd think if someone else posted this, like, I would think, oh, maybe this is tacky or something. But because it's coming from you, there's this whole like aesthetic around it that's like, wow, that's cool. Even if I posted some of the same stuff, people would be like, what are you up to, bro? But you've got this you've got this Shakti, and it's really attractive, it's really attractive to a lot of people. So I'm wondering, what's your vision? Like, how, it seems like this is snowballing somewhere, going somewhere.
It is really like, because I started in mid 2019, really.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty interesting, because 2020, when everything shut down, that's when I almost like found, not that I didn't find purpose before, but something happened in that year. Moving here, getting married, moving permanently in America, Swasti actually growing to something that's actually like a brand. So before, I was searching for what it was or what I was going to do. Now there's something going on. But it was all during that time of 2020, and then I never been like so actually active myself, writing a lot, doing like many videos, and like keeping, I don't know, it's been like weird how like everything was shut down, but it was like, so, like kept being like so productive. And but yeah, I really have no limits on how I want Swasti to be. I really don't try to hold a picture. I've done that with my life. See, like my hair is also an example of that path of least resistance. And I think that people, just from seeing me and just seeing my hair, they know my mind, in the sense of my heart, because you don't get hair like that just from, you're gonna make it, because I didn't make it. it just happens, and it happens if you have a certain type of mentality, because otherwise people fix their hair. People, it grows and you cannot stand it, so it shows kind of like some type of renunciation. Yeah, I didn't touch them since when I woke up. I barely look at myself in the mirror before coming on here, but I was like, oh, it's like usual, like it's just kind of like natural, and people feel that, and that's, I don't know, it gives a lot of inspiration. But I was going somewhere else with that. But
You're talking about swasti and not
yeah,
having like just kind of letting it unfold as it's
yeah,
been
because when
doing.
you hold a picture of what your life want to be or what your hair want to be, that's what I was just saying, then you limit yourself to what it could have been, and yeah, usually like it gets frustrated, because if it's so less, then we get frustration. I want it bigger, but if it was going to be bigger, you're actually holding it down. And so I try not to. The more people getting involved, the more I'm grateful. And like I see, yeah, like you said, snowballing. A lot of people, Ragunat got interested. He wants to wear some shirts, and Namras also hit me up, like people that I look up to, and I feel it's very important to have their opinion. And I don't know. So yeah, I'm just ready to just like have all the. I'm here, whatever's happening.
I think I mentioned to you, Ananda, about the it's called the backward law. When you some people, they try so hard for things in life that through trying they're just reaffirming that they don't have that thing.
Yeah.
Whereas actually by not trying so hard, and just kind of already feeling like you have what you need in life, then you're gifted with abundance and ideas and vision and clarity.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joris. Yeah.
But I was gonna end up like about Swasti. Like I started like create little crew, little team, Swasti, I call it, because I can play a lot of words with
Swastim. Yeah.
And just gotta like to show like different people like me, or like skate monk that found something they really like. That's looks like it's different from Bhakti, but I don't want to just be like outside Bhakti activities. It could be like but kind of like a formula group and make videos, kind of like that. Like he's gonna move here at some point back to California. So I'm gonna be able to film him and like film, maybe do a video together, like do projects like that. And also another project that I thought about last year. It might have to be like a longer term project, but I would love to build a skate park in Mayapur.
Yeah.
Wow.
Create this, like I have the whole concept is like I know, because I know the riders, BMX riders in India, and their job is actually what they do to live is to build skate parks. They build skate park all over South India, more, but they did also North. But they would do it. It would be like cheaper than building a skate park here. So I think it would be affordable, kind of. But and then it could be like they would have like I don't know, like a shelter there, like like a guest house, just to bring like more like younger generation, or if people living in Mayapur, they could just skate around if they want to, just instead of running, just, or some physical activities. I think and it could be decorated also as a temple. I want to paint it like like it could be.
It would have to be the biggest skate park in the world, wouldn't it?
Next to that temple, for
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but something would be nice, and yeah, just do a trip. It could be a documentary also about it, and that's like projects.
Prabhu, someone I shared a picture of you saying we were going to do a podcast with you today, and you were wearing a swasti jumper and it had swastikas on it, and someone mentioned like, oh, he's quite brave to wear swastikas.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, well, actually that is what the Nazis did. They appropriated the Indian culture and used it for their own propaganda. So it seems like it's cool that you're reappropriating, actually, like you said, you're reappropriating these things.
Yeah, I think at some point sometimes I'm kind of like because I think because of my hair, the Shiva energy, Tama energy, and I could get angry, like that kind of like anger, but that's like dharmic anger. It's like pure anger. I know if I go out of anger and I kill someone, Krishna know that it's actually to die. I know that I never even fought anyone, and I'm not even a fighter. But I know if I get mad at something, it's something that's actually disturbing universal peace or something. So it's like right in a sense. But what were you saying?
Just about the swastika and how the Nazis ruined it.
I kind of like this madness. I'm like angry. I'm like, no. At some point, you just have to like say no. It is a beautiful symbol that has beautiful energy. Just by looking at it, you'll be purified, and we need to like get over it. And even in New York City last year, the Supreme Court or whatever, they were discussing about it. to like put it into like a bat symbol or whatever they want to call it, like a they had a term for it. Like they wanted to classify like a one of the bat symbols.
Reject the symbol.
Yeah. And it was the whole thing was rejected, and apparently a lot of the Jewish community fought for to keep it. They know that it's a Hindu symbol that has good. They even have it in their own tradition. So I was like, at least the Supreme Court or whatever officially they kept it, but that's why it's like now we need to like actually show these kind of things, not fear. We can explain it. It's
Yeah, take it back.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joris.
Thank you. It's about to be 108.
Oh,
It's 1:07 right now.
That's exactly when we should close this podcast. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Hearing from you and getting to speak with you, and I'm looking forward to having pizza with you again in Mayapur. Or you can
looking forward.
Take us to the skate park, and Keli and I can embarrass ourselves. And I used to take.
We should get a tandem, Ananda.
I used to take my scooter to the skate park, and I'd really piss off all the other like skateboarders and bikers that were because I was the scooter kid.
Oh,
so.
I still think you're cool. I still think you're cool.
Okay. Maybe I'll take my scooter to the Mayapur skate park.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Joris. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for doing what you're doing with Swasti. It's an inspiration to so many.
Thank you. Thank you, you guys too.
Let's do this again sometime. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, for sure.
See you, man.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Okay.
That was nice.
Oh, we haven't ended. Here we go.